Well, hi folks, see if I can see myself. People ask me how much do you water and when do you water and stuff inside in my polytunnel and things, so I'll just show you how I do it and how I definitely don't do it. Now I see loads of people, and I see people on telly doing this. They go, oh, I'm going to water this bed now, and they go like that, and they go, there you go, that's good watering. Absolutely pointless. All you're doing there is just wetting. If I go down a centimetre, it's dry again. All you're doing, if you just give it a little splash like that, is just wetting the top inch, maximum of your soil. And all that does is just keep the roots at the surface, so then when it does get really hot and dry, then they're even less, able to cope with the drought. So basically, you've got to, well, what I do anyway, every 3 days in the polytunnel, I just flood the bed, basically. I give it about an inch, the equivalent of an inch of water. And I don't even use my watering can spray. All I do is, I do it like this. And that. Now, that might seem a little excessive to people, but that's going to get water right down to the roots, and it's going to keep the roots searching for the water right down, so that if they do for any reason forget to come up and water it, they'll be absolutely fine, because the roots will be really deep and there'll be plenty of water for them. Now that's probably giving them about, I would say about an inch of water, and they reckon the depth of the amount of water you put on it goes down 10 times that amount. So if you put an inch on it, it might go down 10 inches. So like I said, that'll keep all the roots nice and moist below and give it a good reservoir, rather than just a little trickle, which I find absolutely pointless. So exactly the same thing, I've got courgette plant in here, cucumber plant, tomato plant. Because they're indoors, you're not going to overwater them, because if you do put absolutely tons on, it'll just soak through the soil. It's, like if you're in a pot, then yes, you can overwater things because they can become stagnant and the water, you take all the oxygen out, but you've no chance really of overwatering a bed. So that's the same thing with this, but I like to use the old nozzle for this. With the courgette plant, give it a full 10 litres every 3 days. And the best thing you can do is water at the base of the plant. Don't water over any of the leaves on courgettes and cucumbers and things, because that can promote powdery mildew. So if you just give it a good old flooding, like I said, every 3 days, that's the way I do it. It's the way I've always done it, and it just seems to work well. So that's courgettes, cucumbers and beans, just a good old flooding every 3 days, same as the tomatoes. Well, hi folks, how do I water stuff in my greenhouse? Well, I grow most of my stuff in pots, as you can tell, my tomatoes in the 30 litre pots. And all I do every day, because I like to keep tomatoes quite moist, because if you let them dry out, really bone dry, and then water them, you can get the bottom end rot where they go black at the bottom. So I like to water them every day, depending on whether it's been dull or hot. If it's been hot, then give them a good water. And I just basically count to 8 with this. I get about 3 out of a watering can, and it's a 9 litre one, so it's 3 litres. Oh, I've got a big ant's nest, look at that, can you see it? Ooh, this will wake them up. So again, just about 3 litres a day. And if it's been really hot, then a bit more. You can actually pick the pots up and see how heavy they are. If they're really light, then give them a bit more, but I like to keep them, like I said, quite moist, the tomatoes especially. Cucumbers in the pots, I like to keep those quite moist, but not as moist as the tomatoes. They don't tend to like it quite as wet, so I'll just keep it sort of generally moist, and they seem to do alright for a change. Peppers, I'll do really the same as the tomatoes actually, obviously not as much because they're in smaller pots. I just like to keep them quite moist, just sort of topped up, because they're the same. If you let them go bone dry, you can get blossom end rot on peppers as well. But chilies are a different thing. You can keep those really dry. Basically I'll just water those and then let them virtually dry out, because that makes them produce more flowers and you get hotter chilies. Now I can see that soil's quite moist because it's been quite dull and overcast today, so I'm not going to water those today, because I'm zoomed in for some reason, because they are quite moist still. And then the same with these are the tumbling tomatoes. Basically these pots aren't really big enough, so I just water these, and that dry it can end up flowing out of the bottom. So, but like I said, just keep them really moist, my tomatoes, all the time. Chilies, just let them grow a bit, let them dry out before I water them again. So finally, watering outside. What do you do for that? Well, personally, I never ever water outside, ever. The only time I'll ever do it is to apply some like soluble fertiliser, and then I'll just let the rain wash it in afterwards, because this bed it's not a very big bed, it's 20 feet by 10 feet, and the equivalent of an inch of rain on here is 500 litres, so that's 50 watering, well, nearly 100 watering cans to give the equivalent of a good downpour. So if you think, oh, I'll just put about 10 watering cans on, you're only actually putting about 2.5 millimetres of water on. So it's only going to go down again about an inch or two, an inch if that, and it's going to keep all the roots at the surface. So no matter how dry it is, let's face it, plants have been around longer than us. They've had drier weather than we get in Britain. They will find the water. Okay, some little tiny seedlings, yeah, you can give those a watering, but anything, once it started growing, its roots will be deep. They'll be into water somewhere along the line, otherwise they'll die. So personally for me, I know it's probably a bit wetter up here than it is for a lot of people, but like I said, never ever water. I never water in spring when I plant things out, because I like them to go in search of the moisture by heading downwards into the soil, getting deep down, and then they basically just look after themselves no matter how dry summer we get, because we've had one of the driest springs that we've had for years and nothing's suffered whatsoever. So that's my sort of advice on watering, really. That's what I do. I'm not saying it's the best, I'm not saying it's the way to go, but it's the way I do it, and it's always sort of served me well. That's about it, folks, just a few little things that I do. See you later.